Hi everyone, welcome back to our video training series for Eggplant Functional. This is the second of two videos where I show you how to write basic automation scripts, and this video focuses on using a more freestyle manual scripting process to create a script. As I did in part 1, before deciding on a scripting method, I ran through the workflow a couple of times manually to practice the workflow and determine its complexity. I did these practice runs against two very different sets, an iPhone and an Android phone that I'm responsible for automating, in order to get a feel for how the look and functionality of my test app differs on those two different devices. Based on the visual differences in the app and the complexity of the functionality and UI I'd like to automate and validate on the app, I have decided to use manual scripting to create my script. Using a mix of assisted scripting is not a great option in this case, as I plan to create image collections immediately, rather than waiting to create the image collections after I have captured the relevant images. Assisted scripting lets you capture an image of interest, pair that image with a command, such as a click, and simultaneously generate a line of code when you save that image. Assisted scripting is appropriate when you don't need to create the image collections first and you haven't already captured the images of interest. You can read more about assisted scripting in our online documentation. As mentioned earlier, I'm going to create image collections first and then capture images later that I will save into the image collections. I am taking this approach because ultimately I will need to make this script work against quite a few different mobile devices, and I can see easily that the UI elements are rendered differently across these two devices. As I capture the images, I can type directly into the editor, indicating how I'd like to automate with those images, such as by tapping on them with the tap command. Autocomplete guides me in making sure I select the correct command and image name. In the case of the Amazon header in the Amazon app, I wondered whether this image is actually a large version of the image I captured of the Amazon app icon just prior. By selecting the image to bring up the image properties, I can use the Image Doctor on demand to search for the image header against the screen where the app icon is showing. The Image Doctor didn't find the image at a smaller scale, which means that I'll need two separate images, one of the header and one of the icon. You can use the Image Doctor on demand in order to determine reusability of images in other situations, such as between different form factors of Android devices. As I expand my script, I can select code to run and then use the Run Selection button to make sure the code works and to catch my set up to where the script is. In the case of mobile automation, iOS in particular, the active typing can be slow. So it's a good idea to add an additional checkpoint that waits for the typed phrase to appear on the screen before the script continues. I anticipate later needing to change this script to search for many different things, not just bicycle, so I'm going to perform the wait for checkpoint using an OCR search for bicycle rather than an image search. This will make the maintenance of my script much more reasonable, as I won't need a captured image for every single item I plan to search for with the app during my automation. Now I have an important decision to make. Should I continue performing my automation with images of text UI elements or instead use OCR to search for them? Because I need to automate on so many different devices and text can be rendered differently across all of these devices, I will use OCR instead to interact with these text UI elements. Keep in mind that using OCR to find a text string doesn't validate the UI in the same way that using an image search would, and that OCR searches are slower than image searches, so use OCR wisely. The word filter can appear in a couple places on my UI, but with different capitalization. So I can add the case-sensitive OCR property to my OCR search to enforce capitalization in my OCR search. I'll teach you more about optimal use of OCR searches in a video later in this training series. Now I want to add a repeat loop to my script, as I need to repeat a scrolling action on this drop-down list until a particular drop-down item appears. A quick way to insert SenseTalk code into your script is using the SenseTalk language browser on the right side of the Suite window. I set up this repeat loop to scroll until finding a particular list item using an OCR search. As mentioned previously, OCR searches are slower than image searches, so they should be used carefully. If it's important to you that these repeat loops execute more quickly, consider switching to use an image search. If you are using an image search instead, you can also use a special wait for property time of 0. This special value carries out only one scan for the image during the search, which will allow your repeat loop to execute very quickly. At this point in my script, I need to read how many results are showing for the filter I set. I start by storing the coordinates of the rectangle around the results UI element in a variable. Then I set up a read text function with the log command so that I can easily verify whether I'm setting up my code to read the correct part of the screen. Using some built-in sensetalk keywords to process the image rectangle values held in my variable, I can set up a read area that starts at the left edge of my screen and stops before the results UI element. Running the code shows that the read text was able to read the correct part of the screen, but also that the comma was misread as a period. So when I rewrite the code to put the output of the read text into a variable, I'll also add the valid characters OCR property to help OCR read this very small character correctly. The next thing I need to do in this script is repeat the workflow of searching for an item in the store, but I noticed that when the app has already been used to search, the previous search value is stored in the search field. I need to script a way to handle clearing the previous search so that I can search for a new item. The way to do this in the app is to tap on the small X that appears in the search field. I'll code a conditional statement that checks for the presence of the small X and taps on it if it's present. Note how I use the special wait for value of 0 with this image search, so that I can very quickly determine whether the X is present or not. I can confidently use this wait for value because the X doesn't need any loading time in order to appear. It'll already be present or it will never appear. When I went back to debug my complete script by running it from the beginning, I ran into an image match issue. It turns out the search button inside the search field is rendered using anti-aliasing, because each time I ran the script, a different level of color tolerance was suggested for the image. Most commonly, text is rendered using anti-aliasing, but other UI elements can use it as well. Further debugging showed that the small X in the search field also uses anti-aliasing, so I need to change the search type for this image to search type text as well. However, changing this search type causes the small X image to match in more than one place. To handle these additional possible occurrences of the small X that I don't care to interact with, I'm going to set up a search rectangle that restricts the search area just to where the search field appears on the screen. Search rectangles are best set up using reference images, so that if the reference images move on the screen, the search rectangle moves along with them. Note how I've moved the hotspot for the microphone image, which adjusts the lower right bounds of where the search rectangle will appear relative to the microphone. The tempting thing to do next is to copy and paste the search code from above and edit it to perform a different search. But wait, this is making my code repetitive and therefore hard to maintain. Watch our upcoming video on modularization and parameterization to learn how to best handle this situation. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you next time.